Alright guys, I do apologize for cutting off the computer there on the right side of the screen. I'm, as you can tell, a bit of a noob at this whole YouTube thing, so I do apologize for that. There wasn't too much important stuff on the right side there that really mattered that you saw it. If you'd really like me to, I can do it again. Just leave a comment down below, and I'll maybe redo that segment of the video so you can see what the FMS said. But since this isn't really meant to be a tutorial of the PMDG 777, it's more meant to be, this is how pilots fly an airplane normally. I'm going to leave it, and we'll see what happens there. So, anyway, so our deer has aligned. We now have a navigational display here showing our course away from the runway. As you can see, a lot of the warnings have disappeared from the ICAS here. That's because now the airplane knows where we are. It can have a whole bunch of other services available. It's also populated our V-speeds over here, so we can accept these, 150, 156, and 166. V1, for those of you that don't know, is the takeoff decision speed. So below V1, we can still reject the takeoff, abandon the takeoff, and stop before we run out of runway. At or above V1, we no longer have enough runway left to stop the aircraft. So if we have a problem at or above V1, we must continue the takeoff, get the aircraft into the air, and deal with it airborne. So that's our kind of our critical speed on takeoff. VR is the speed where you actually rotate the airplane. It's called rotation speed. Pitch the airplane's nose up and actually get it off the ground. And then V2 is the takeoff safety speed. So if we were to lose an engine on takeoff, depending on exactly where we lost the engine, 166 can kind of be considered to be our minimum speed during an engine failure scenario. So if we had an engine failure below V2, we would accelerate to V2 to climb out. If we had an engine failure above V2, I believe it's between V2 and V2 plus 20, I think, we would maintain whatever speed we had when the engine failed. If we were at over V2 plus 20 when the engine failed, we would actually decelerate back down to V2 plus 20 and climb at that. So that's what V2 is there. So what I'm going to do now is set up the rest of the aircraft. So we're going to go up to the overhead here. You can see we still have quite a number of warnings on the screen there. So I'm going to go up to the overhead here and try to fix some of that. So I'm going to bring the hydraulics online. Again, right to left. This prevents fluid cross-feeding from the, or between the systems, I should say. So you're going to see a bunch of these fault lights go out as the systems get pressure. There we go. That one stays on. Again, I'm not sure why. I haven't been trained on the airplane, so whatever. Fuel pumps come on in the main tanks. All the pressure lights go out. We don't have any fuel in the center tank for this flight. It's showing 0 there. You probably can't see that. Anyway, 0 there. So we don't need to turn on the center tank pumps. Other than that, passenger seatbelt signs are coming on. And we just do a flow, basically. So from the left to the right, we're going to go down this way. That's all set. Down this way. We just turn all the hydraulics on. Belt signs are on. That's all set. It's daytime. We don't need the cockpit lights. Fire panels all set. And we'd be doing fire tests and stuff like that as well. Again, without having been trained on the airplane, I'm not sure the order or how we would do that, but you'd make sure all your fire systems detection is working and stuff like that. The nav lights are on. We don't need any other exterior lights for now, considering that it is daytime. Excuse me. And the air conditioning panel's all set up for the APU bleed to cool or heat the airplane, depending on what we need. Pressurization panels in auto, so that's all good. Seriously, the 777 is fairly easy to fly. It does most of the stuff itself. So we were only left with 3 warnings on the ICAS here. Engine shutdown, which is normal because we're at the gate. TCAS off, which is again normal because we're at the gate. And doors, because the doors are open because we're loading passengers. The TCAS is the traffic collision avoidance system. Basically, it tells us where other airplanes are in flight and gives us avoidance instructions if it's applicable. So it doesn't matter, that can be off at the gate. But clear that off. Alright, let's set up the CDU here. So first thing we're going to do is turn the flight directors on. Left and right. That puts us into TOGA, or takeoff go-around mode, which commands a pitch up and maintains, basically, runway centerline maintains the heading. And for the speed, we're going to put V2 in here. It's 166. If we had a failure, we want it to default back to that. LNAV, VNAV can be armed up, so they are in white down here. That means the modes are armed for activation after takeoff. Man, I'm gonna make sure you guys can see this here. I'm trying to remember that like over here is not on the video for some reason. So for the heading, we're gonna line it up on the runway, so it's gonna be about 050. roughly. Again, we look at the charts to see what it actually is for the runway, 056 maybe. And for the altitude, what's our altitude in the departure procedure? Where did I put that? I had it out on my charts, my paper charts that I have here. Here we go. I believe it's 5,000. Yeah, maintain 5,000 for all runways. Perfect. Alright, so we're going to throw 5,000 feet in here. Here we go. So the CDU pre-flight is complete. And we should be pretty much ready to go. So we're going to run the checklist. The nice thing about the 777 is that it does have automated checklists on the panel down here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see a little better. Pre-flight checklist, oxygen tested 100%. So that's over here. Let's see here, right here. Tested, and it's on 100%. Checked. Flight instruments, heading, and altimeter. The heading is 109. That matches what we have on the magnetic compass here. Now, the magnetic compass could be inaccurate at this point because we're sitting so close to the terminal. There's all kinds of metal around here to throw it off, so we're not really sure about that. But 109 makes sense for our orientation here. And the altimeter is set to the local altimeter setting, which we would have grabbed from the Automated Terminal Information Service, or weather. It would have given us that altimeter setting there as well, 3030, so that's set. Parking brake, we're going to go ahead and set that. There we go. Fuel control switch is cut off. They are cut off. Checklist complete. So this is our before start checklist. We're going to go through that and we'll just hold off at the beacon. So the flight deck door is closed and locked. Passenger signs are on. For the MCP or mode control panel, that's referring to this up here. Make sure you guys can see that, sorry. So MCP V2 is set, heading track is set, and altitude is set. So that's done. Takeoff speeds V1, VR, and V2 have been computed and entered. CDU pre-flight is completed. Trim, we haven't set the trim yet. So the trim is supposed to be 5.0 units. Trim is right down here, this little green range, so I'm going to go ahead and set that to 5.0 units. There we go. Trim is 5.0 units, and then it's talking about 0, 0, so the rudder trim is 0, and the aileron trim is 0. That's set. Taxi and takeoff briefing would have been completed with the first officer, so I would have briefed him on what to do during takeoff. If we have a failure below V1, we'll do this. At or above V1, we'll do this. The actual departure itself is going to be off runway 05, and it just says, unless otherwise assigned by ATC, climb heading 057 to 1,000 feet, then a climbing left turn heading 047, or as assigned, expect radar vectors to KEDC, or as assigned. There's a lot of or as assigned in here. And then proceed by depicted route to maintain 5,000 feet, which is set. And then I'd go over the engine out departure procedure as well, so the way we'd fly the engine out, probably just straight ahead to a certain altitude, and then retract the flaps at that altitude. So that's completed. And holding at the beacon. So the beacon is the anti-collision beacon on the outside of the airplane, and that just comes on when we're ready to either move or start an engine. So that completes the pre-flight. We are now ready for pushback and departure as soon as the back end is ready. They're still loading passengers back there.